The first time you get betrayed, the first time you fell in love, the first time it's the first time you're feeling a lot of these feelings. So it's massive.
And your prefrontal cortex hasn't like fully developed yet. So it's just like, what is going on? So
everything is everything. Everything is everything.
I really enjoyed this rendition of Mean Girls. Obviously, as a fan of the original and also a avid Broadway enjoyer, I know that it was like a shock to you guys to receive the offer to do this. But how quickly did you start coming up with ideas, and what was it that you wanted to stand out in this adaptation?
Immediately,
Yeah,
we were. So stoked. I mean, Mean Girls has been in my DNA since I was in high school. So I knew how much it meant to so many people. And then also we had seen the Broadway show and we had loved it, you know, as theater fans and Mean Girls fans. So I think this story is so ripe to be updated to today, especially with social media that didn't exist back in 2004. What kids are dealing with today can be translated so well using this story. So it was just really fun being able to dive deeper into the characters through musicality too, and kind of making this really immersive. I think the original did such a beautiful job, and now we're able to really go deep into these characters through these musical sequences and offer a really immersive perspective, which is how high school feels. You know, high school feels so personal. There's no like, no, it's just business in high school. It's like, oh, you know, you just get gutted every 2 seconds.
I mean, the first time you get betrayed, the first time you fell in love, the first time it's the first time you're feeling a lot of these feelings. So it's massive.
And your prefrontal cortex hasn't like fully developed yet. So it's just like, what is going on? So
everything is everything. Everything is everything.
Speaking of the musicality, Arturo, if you'd like to speak to this, the movie trims down the song numbers and replaces it roars with what ifs. And I think for the most part, it's like a good flow for the movie. Like I understand why some of these would have been cut if I was directing, not that I ever would be. But can you walk me through the process of what gets to be part of the story, what songs serve the story best and why?
In Broadway, you have a lot more time. You have a lot more time and that's why Broadway is so delicious, and that's why Broadway is incredible. And you know, we're not trying to replace the Broadway show. You know, I think that literally we just had to like, what are the songs that serve the story that we're trying to tell? Like that it's all about story. And like there were tears shed for songs like Stop. Like everybody, I remember
Stop so much.
Everybody was just like, do we need to?
I know, we just like poured one out for some, but it's honestly also I mean, we're massive Broadway fans. We understand, but it's also there were songs that were big homages to old Broadway in the Broadway version. And I think what the music team did so beautifully is kind of update the palette, refresh it to come from more of a pop place, you know? And so that's where some of these decisions came from as well. You know, what would resonate with a new audience that hasn't necessarily seen the show.
I feel like it must be super hard to not compare each character to the 2004 counterpart. How do you as directors kind of avoid the trap of being like, you need to be a little bit more or less like Amanda Seyfried in this moment?
It was all in the casting, honestly. That never crossed my mind, just because the actors really brought their own thoughts and preparations and selves to the characters. I think that was the most important thing in casting, which is, okay, we are not trying to replicate the original at all when it comes to these characters and their affectations and how they portrayed these people. Like how would you do it? You know, what's your take on it? How do you embody this character and this feeling and performance?
Everybody knew like like that's what's so great about this cast is that they're not only are they phenomenally talented, but they're phenomenally brave, you know, because it's like each of these characters are iconic. you know? So how do like it must have been something that they wrestled with and stuff, but like, so I think they also came very prepared.
They did.
You know, and having lots of those conversations because the cultural zeitgeist will have them for them if not, you know. So I think that they're like, and they all made brave choices and they stuck with them, and I think that's what makes this movie shine. You know.
Speaking of which, I already loved how Janice's sexuality was incorporated into the Broadway production, and I thought that the movie even elevated it a step further, maybe because of Auli'i's performance, but also just like the way that Janice's story was told. Can you guys talk about leading up to that confession, if you will, and how it helps I'd Rather Be Me resonate more?
It was really important to Tina, we know, for her to tell a story that felt personal and authentic and layered, and she has two teenage girls, she's around teenagers. She understands what hits now and what feels real. So it was really in Tina's writing. And I'd Rather Be Me is such a brave anthem. And I think knowing Janice's embarrassment and shame and struggles and eventual triumphs over those things just makes that song all the more euphoric and anthemic. So I really love that, Tina really dimensionalized Janice's world in that kind of way with that backstory.
Arturo. So Mean Girls obviously is infinitely memeable, and we are still referencing it today. Hopefully hopefully that will also be the case with this interpretation. But what would be the moment?
That would be the ultimate compliment, by the way. Like that's right. Like that's what you're searching for. That's what you want. That's the Oscar. That's like the digital Oscar.
Exactly. Is there a moment that stands out most to you that still keeps you laughing?
I mean, I think like Damien, I think he has a ton. I think that like everybody has a ton. Like Angari has a ton. Auli'i has Renee. I mean, everybody. It's for the internet to figure out which
one. Like, we've seen the movie a million times now, obviously, and we like cannot stop quoting this movie. I also just personally, after like truly having seen this movie more times than we can count, every single time during Revenge Party when Damien's handing the candy cane to Glenn Coco does that, I just like die. Every time.
Every single time.
Oh, I love that. Now that you guys have bodied Mean Girls and stepped into the musical movie musical adaptation of musicals based on movies, is there any other Broadway show that you would like to tackle? I'm going to say Heather's, but what would you say?
I would love to talk to my hermano, Lin-Manuel Miranda. That's the one. But we'll get there.
We're massive fans.
We're massive fans of Hamilton. Yeah. Like we know every single that would be
it. you and me both. I also love a good Lin-Manuel Miranda show. And then finally, what would you like to explore next outside of musicals? What's the next step of film trajectory for you?
Yeah, we
just finished it.
We wrote a feature. We've been working on for quite a bit that we're excited about. It's a crazy ride, and it's about friendship. It's a ensemble story about friendship. It's a lot of fun, and we're excited about that. But it's a really fun ride. It's called 10 Days in Tulum.
Okay. Well, I cannot wait to see that. Thank you so much. Also love Tulum, so very cool. Okay. Have a great day. Thank you. You guys are great.